those priests are generally motivated entirely by this world concerns. Right. And religion then becomes an instrument of material oppression and control and is co-opted by the political establishment, when in fact at the heart of the religion is a direct experience of another world.
And those are relegated by this time to myth.
Those are relegated to myth, and in fact you'll find that many religions, as they develop, turn against the notion that those who follow the religion should experience altered states of consciousness. Many religions are vehemently opposed to altered states of consciousness, even though their own validity derives originally from an altered state of consciousness. But this is a normal process. This is what human beings do. Human beings are power animals, and any structure can be co-opted to the power interests of particular groups, and that's unfortunately what has happened with religions. And the great world religions today are all, in my view, very far removed from their shamanic roots, greatly to their cost.
So let's go back to your personal experience. What happened when you first had your experience with ayahuasca?
Well, I should add that ayahuasca is not the only shamanic plant that I've worked with. I've also worked with ibogaine from Central Africa. I've worked with psilocybin in sacred mushrooms from around the world, and I've worked with DMT in its pure form. Derived from plants.
Were there any commonalities to the experience?
Yes, there were extraordinary commonalities to these experiences, some differences as well. And what this suggests to me is that there are multiple realms out there, and that perhaps different substances put us in tune, put us onto the right receiver wavelength for different realms. But in every case, it is an absolutely convincing encounter with another level of reality, and this encounter takes two forms. For me, if I consider the ayahuasca experience, if we focus in on that, it was rather like traveling for the first time to another country, a wonderful country filled with extraordinary sights and sounds, filled with beings with great wisdom and intelligence who wished to communicate with me. But first of all, I had to learn the rules of that realm. I had to learn it and discover it, just as I would have to learn the rules of a new country here on Earth if I went to that.
So how did you experience these new rules?
Well, very with
after you got done throwing up.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. First of all, you have to deal with the physical consequences of ayahuasca, and then come back into the visionary state. And sometimes the physical consequences come back 3 or 4 times during a session. So it's a constant interruption, but at the same time, the visions always return. Altogether, across the 11 sessions that I did in the Amazon, I was feeling towards the end of it that I was beginning to get genuine communication, that information was coming to me, that I was understanding. It's not that these beings speak in human voices. The communication is telepathic, but still one has to overcome one's fear, one's preconceptions, one's ideas of what's going on in order to listen to that and hear it and understand what's being said. Interestingly, part of the ayahuasca experience for me was a personal inward journey, where I found myself confronted with absolute clarity and no hiding place, with many things that I had done during the course of my life, going right back to my childhood, which I wasn't proud of, and which I had kind of shoved away from memory.
Like a little life review.
It was like a life review, very much a life review. And the purpose of that life review, and I know many other people who've drunk ayahuasca who've had the same experience, the purpose of that life review seems to be to allow you to change track if you want to change track. Instead of being just rooted in the way that you've always been, it gives you a vision of yourself in very unflattering terms, and you realize your motives for a certain act of meanness or a certain act of dishonesty, and you can't hide from it anymore. And once you realize that, of course you know that you can't go back and change the past, but you also know that you don't have to be that way again in the future. So I did find it a profound teaching experience in that respect, just at a level of personal development. But at a broader level, my sense is that there is an enormous amount of extremely valid and valuable information that was beamed at me from this other world, and that I need to do more work to get clear exactly what is being said. And for that reason, I intend to persist with ayahuasca, and I'm going to go back to Brazil next year and spend a couple of weeks again working with shamans and drinking ayahuasca, because I want to explore that other country further. more carefully over an extended period of time.
Are you at liberty to share some of what you experienced there, that you're continuing your exploration?
Well, as I say, the experience is primarily one of an extraordinary source of information, which can help me as an individual, and which may have a much broader relevance to that, but which I need to learn how to decode. And that's why I compare it with traveling to another country, which is full of rich experiences, but first of all, I have to learn the language if I'm going to communicate with the people there at all.
So is it given to you in the form of, in your personal experience, more in the form of symbols, or as you say, these beings that morph from animal to human?
Very frequently, I encountered beings exactly like those painted on the walls of the painted caves, which are part animal and part human. One particular,
like in Egypt.
Like in Egypt, and one particularly powerful such vision involved a creature that had the body of a human and the head of a crocodile or an alligator, and indeed there is an Egyptian god who looks like that. I found my consciousness at any rate, in a darkened room of what seemed to be some huge building, and there was a doorway, and through the doorway light was streaming, and out through the doorway I could see a balcony, and beyond that an enormous expanse of water. It wasn't clear to me if it was a sea or a great river. And I thought that I would move forward through the room and come to that doorway and see what lay beyond it. And you can do that with ayahuasca. You can project your consciousness in the direction that you want. So I came to the doorway, and then I looked to my right, and I saw a huge, what I took to be a statue of a powerfully built man with the head of a crocodile. It seemed to be carved out of green jade. And then just at the moment that I had decided it was a statue, the eyes of the figure swiveled towards me, and it glanced at me with a look that I can describe as sly and appraising, but not threatening. Mm-hmm. It was reacting to me, and at that moment I became very afraid. And the fear caused me to withdraw from the experience, open my eyes, and shut out the visions. This happened to me a few times, and that's why I want to go back, because I feel I have to overcome that fear. That it's very important to learn to overcome fear in order to get the maximum value out of these experiences.
And it seems that a lot of people encounter this same type of fear when they have this experience.
Yes.
And the same types of images come up, such as the serpent.
Yes, the serpent is absolutely universal in ayahuasca. I don't know anybody who's drunk ayahuasca who hasn't encountered serpents. There may be some rare individuals who haven't, but the vast majority of us do. And these serpents are not that. Some might argue that we have a primordial fear of snakes, and that's why in an altered state of consciousness we see them. This is complete nonsense. The serpents that are seen under the influence of ayahuasca are not threatening. They are not dangerous. They are not violent. They are intelligent beings, often of enormous scale, 50 or 100 feet long. They seem huge, with gigantic heads and bright, intelligent eyes. And again, they want to talk to you. Do
they have a similar message or representation to most people in this state?
Well, that varies. I know one individual, the Swiss anthropologist Jeremy Narby, who went to the Amazon also to drink ayahuasca, who felt very much that he was put in his place by two of these serpent beings. They said to him, "Get it straight, you are just a human being."
Well, with all of your work in the past and in your runaway bestseller book, Fingerprints of the Gods, where you're looking at mankind being far more evolved in times past than we have given us credit for, and being able to have overhead views of the cartography of the planet, for example, that were really inexplicable. Have you found that the work you're doing now, going into these other dimensions, is somehow merging with or validating or somehow aligning with the work you've done previously?
Yes, definitely. For example, the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Maya, two cultures that I spent a lot of time studying over the last 10 to 15 years, I've now realized that there was something about their cultures that I didn't understand, and I do understand it now. And that is that their entire approach to spirituality and to religion and to the mystery of what it is to be alive was maybe